The summer heat shimmered over the pristine grounds of Meadowbrook Equestrian Club as my son Matthew's sobs echoed across the private stables. My mother-in-law, Evelyn Blackwood, stood watching with her arms crossed, a satisfied smirk playing on her expertly Botoxed face. "Perhaps now you'll learn to hold your fork properly," she said, adjusting her Hermes scarf. "Really, Sarah, what do you teach the boy at home?" Eating with his left hand like a common sable boy. Matthew, still in his riding clothes, looked at his sandwich floating in a horse trough. His regular lunch spot at the club's terrace had been suddenly reserved, according to his grandmother, and she'd led him here instead. "He's left-handed," I said through clenched teeth, "and 8 years old." "No grandson of mine will eat like a peasant," Evelyn declared. James would be mortified to see his son's table manners. Thank goodness he's not here to witness this embarrassment. My late husband would indeed be mortified, but not by our son's manners. The mention of James made my blood boil hotter than the August sun beating down on us. "Get your lunch, Matthew," I said quietly, walking toward him. "But Mama—" No, Evelyn interrupted. "Let him eat from where I've served him. The horses don't mind sharing." Her laugh tinkled like broken glass. Besides, the club's dining room has standards. What Evelyn didn't know was that the club's standards were about to change dramatically. The papers had been signed last week, though the announcement wouldn't be made until tonight's annual member gala. James and I had been planning this for years before his accident, quietly buying up shares through various holding companies. "Matthew," I called again, more firmly this time. "Come here." He ran to me, his riding boots kicking up dust, tears streaming down his face. Behind us, I could hear the stable hands muttering in disapproval. They'd witnessed everything. Mrs. Blackwood, Roberto, the head groom, stepped forward. The trough was just cleaned for the horses. Then it should be clean enough for a boy who can't remember which fork to use, Evelyn snapped. "Really, Sarah, this is why I told James marrying the riding instructor was a mistake. No breeding at all." I held Matthew closer, feeling him tremble. "No breeding? Tell me, Evelyn, what does good breeding look like? Forcing a child to eat from a horse trough." Sometimes harsh lessons are necessary. When I was social chair of this club 20 years ago. You've mentioned that several hundred times. Her eyes narrowed. "Watch yourself, Sarah. Your membership here hangs by a thread. The only reason you're still allowed is because of James's name, and even that might not be enough after today's display. If she only knew." "Come on, Matthew," I said, steering him toward our car. "We're leaving." "Running away again?" Evelyn called after us. "Do remember I expect both of you at tonight's gala. It's my 20th anniversary as social chair, and the entire board will be there. Try to avoid embarrassing the family name further." I turned back, unable to resist. "Oh, we wouldn't miss your speech for the world." In the car, Matthew's tears had dried, replaced by quiet anger. "Why does Grandma hate us, Mama?" "She doesn't hate us, sweetheart. She hates herself, and we're convenient targets." I started the engine, catching Roberto's eye as he gave me a subtle thumbs up. The security cameras in the stable had caught everything, but things are about to change. Because of the papers you signed, the ones in Daddy's study. Smart boy, he'd seen me reviewing the contracts last week. "That's right, remember how Daddy used to say that money doesn't make you better than anyone else?" Matthew nodded. He said it's what you do with it that matters. Exactly, and tonight, we're going to show Grandma exactly what we've done with it. Back at home, our real home, not the modest apartment Evelyn thought we lived in. I helped Matthew change for the gala. The house was hidden under a different name, another part of James's careful planning. He'd known his mother too well, known she'd try to take everything from us if given the chance. "Do I have to wear the bow tie?" Matthew fidgeted with the silk at his neck. "Just for a little while," I promised, straightening it. "Until after Grandma's speech. Will she make me eat with the horses again?" "No, baby. After tonight, Grandma won't be making anyone do anything at Meadowbrook ever again." As we dressed, I thought about James's warnings before his accident. "My mother will never accept you properly," he'd said. "So we'll have to change the game entirely." And we had. Every investment, every careful purchase of club shares through proxy companies, every detailed plan had led to this moment. Evelyn thought she was untouchable as the social chair of Meadowbrook, a position she held with an iron grip for 2 decades. Tonight, she would learn that her precious social status rested on ground as unstable as her grandson's floating sandwich. I checked my phone, new messages from the board members who'd been quietly appointed last week. Everything was in place. In 6 hours, Evelyn would stand up to give her anniversary speech, expecting another triumph in her long reign over Meadowbrook's social scene. Instead, she faced something entirely different. "Ready?" I asked Matthew, who now looked every inch the young gentleman in his suit. He squared his small shoulders, a gesture so like his father's it made my heart ache. "Ready, Mama. Can I use any fork I want at dinner?" I smiled, grabbing my clutch. "Tonight, sweetheart, you can eat with both hands if you want to." The Meadowbrook Equestrian Club's grand ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers and old money. Evelyn held court near the entrance, greeting guests with her practiced social smile while subtly critiquing their attire, lineage, or both. When we arrived, her smile flickered like a faulty light bulb. "Sarah, darling," she air-kissed my cheeks. "That dress is interesting. Last season's McQueen, isn't it?" Her own outfit probably cost more than what she assumed was my monthly salary. "Hello, grandmother," Matthew said quietly, his perfect posture a shield. "Ah, Matthew, I trust you've learned something about proper dining etiquette today." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Before he could respond, Roberto appeared at my elbow. "Mrs. Harrison, the board requests your presence before the speech." Something about the new documentation. Evelyn's perfectly plucked eyebrows drew together. "Documentation? What documentation?" "I'm sure it's nothing," I said smoothly. "Just some routine ownership updates." "Ownership updates?" She grabbed my arm as I turned away. "What are you talking about?" I carefully removed her manicured fingers from my sleeve. "You'll find out during your speech, Evelyn, along with everyone else." Leaving her sputtering, I guided Matthew to our table, front and center, where the new owner's family belonged. The place cards, which Evelyn had personally arranged, had originally seated us near the kitchen doors. Funny how things change. Throughout dinner, I watched Evelyn make increasingly frantic trips between board members, her face growing more pinched with each conversation. No one would give her straight answers about the ownership changes. They'd all signed NDAs last week. Finally, it was time for her speech. She approached the podium like a queen ascending her throne, though I noticed her hands trembling slightly as she adjusted the microphone. "Distinguished members, honored guests," she began, her voice carrying that artificial warmth she perfected over 20 years. "As your social chair, it has been my privilege to maintain Meadowbrook's impeccable standards." Right on cue, the screens behind her flickered to life. Security footage from the stable began playing silently. Evelyn, focused on her note cards, didn't notice at first, but the gasps from the audience made her turn around. There she was in high-definition clarity, forcing her grandson to eat from a horse trough. "Turn that off," she commanded, but the tech staff, now my staff, didn't move. "Is something wrong, Evelyn?" I stood, letting my voice carry. "Please continue telling us about Meadowbrook's impeccable standards." The footage changed to other incidents, Evelyn berating staff members, mocking less wealthy members behind their backs, orchestrating social humiliations as if directing a theater production. "This is outrageous," she sputtered. "I demand to know who authorized this." "That would be me." I walked to the podium, the new owner of Meadowbrook Equestrian Club. The ballroom erupted in whispers. Evelyn's face went from red to white faster than a traffic light. "Impossible," she breathed. "You're nothing." A riding instructor James married against my wishes. A riding instructor who helped her husband build one of the most successful investment portfolios in the state, I corrected. "While you were planning seating charts, Evelyn, James, and I were planning something much bigger." James would never. James did. Every share purchase, every proxy company, every detail was planned before his accident. He knew exactly who you were, Evelyn. He just loved you enough to hope you change on your own. Matthew appeared at my side, standing tall despite the room's attention. "Daddy said people who are truly special don't need to make others feel small." Evelyn staggered back as if physically struck by his words. The footage behind her showed her latest cruelty in the stable, playing on an endless loop. As the new owner, I continued, "I'm making some changes. First, the social chair position is being eliminated. We'll have a democratically elected member committee instead." More whispers, some approving nods. "Second, Any form of discrimination or harassment will result in immediate membership termination. No exceptions. You can't. Evelyn started. I can, and I am. Your membership is currently under review, pending completion of both an ethics course and 500 hours of community service at the local public stables. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Several people actually applauded. And finally, I gestured to Matthew. My son will continue to eat with whichever hand he prefers. Anyone who has a problem with that can join Evelyn in mucking out stalls. The ballroom sat in stunned silence for a moment before erupting in conversation. Evelyn stood frozen, her carefully constructed world crumbling around her designer heels. Why? She whispered as I passed her. Why humiliate me like this? The same reason we humiliated an 8-year-old boy. To teach a lesson about standards. I paused. The difference is your lesson was about cruelty. Mine is about consequences. Roberto appeared with a folder. The new membership agreement, Mrs. Blackwood. You'll need to sign it tonight if you want to retain any club privileges. Evelyn's hands shook as she took the papers. And if I refuse? Then you can explain to your social circle why you're no longer welcome at Meadowbrook. I smiled. I'm sure they'd love to hear about your innovative approach to children's table manners. She sank into a chair, decades of iron control finally rusting away. James knew. All this time, he knew what I was. He knew, I confirmed. He just hoped you'd learn compassion before we had to teach it to you. As I walked away, Matthew slipped his hand into mine. Can we get ice cream, Mama? With both hands? I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in years. Yes, sweetheart. And tomorrow, we'll have lunch on the terrace. All of us, including the stable hands. Behind us, Evelyn began to sign her new membership agreement, her perfect world reduced to writing lines like a chastised schoolgirl. I will not abuse my position. I will treat others with respect. Sometimes the best lessons are learned in unexpected places, even at a horse trough. The transformation of both Meadowbrook and Evelyn Blackwood over the next few months surprised everyone, including me. Like a thoroughbred forced to learn a new gait, Evelyn stumbled at first but gradually found her footing in this new reality. Her first day of community service at the public stables was nothing short of revolutionary. The woman who once wouldn't touch a rake unless it was gold-plated spent 8 hours mucking stalls, her designer clothes replaced by workwear she probably never imagined wearing. Your mother-in-law actually apologized to me today, Roberto reported one evening. Nearly fell off my horse when I heard it. She said she never realized how much work we do. The ethics course proved even more transformative. The instructor, a retired judge who specialized in rehabilitation, gave me weekly updates. She asked something interesting today, he said during one session. She wanted to know if her own mother's obsession with social status had damaged her ability to love properly. I told her recognition is the first step toward change. The real breakthrough came during Matthew's birthday party at the club. We'd invited children from both the public stables where Evelyn volunteered and Meadowbrook's junior riders. When one of her former social circle made a snide comment about the mixed company, Evelyn surprised everyone. These children, she said clearly, are here because they love horses and my grandson. If you can't see past social boundaries, perhaps you should examine why that threatens you so much. The woman left in a huff. Evelyn caught my eye across the room and gave a small nod. Later, as she helped serve cake to all the children, using actual plates, not troughs, she pulled me aside. I've been thinking about my position here at the club, she said quietly. Oh? Yes, I'd like to start a scholarship program for talented riders who can't afford membership. If you approve, of course. I studied her face, looking for any trace of manipulation. I found none. I think that's an excellent idea, I said. Why don't you work with Roberto to develop the criteria? The flash of genuine pleasure in her eyes told me more than any words could. Matthew, displaying his father's insight, noticed the change too. Grain was different now. He'd observed one day while we watched her teaching a group of scholarship kids about proper horse care. She smiles with her eyes, not just her mouth. He was right. The artificial warmth had been replaced by something genuine, if still somewhat uncertain. The final test came during the club's year-end gala. Evelyn was scheduled to speak again, not as social chair, but as the head of the new scholarship committee. When I stood here last year, she began, her voice lacking its former artificial polish. I thought I knew what made Meadowbrook special. I thought it was about exclusivity, about keeping people out. She paused, looking at Matthew. I was wrong. The room fell silent. My grandson taught me that true class isn't about which fork you use or which hand you eat with. It's about how you treat people when you think no one's watching. Or, she smiled ruefully, when everyone's watching through security cameras. Scattered laughter rippled through the audience. This past year has been educational, she continued. I learned that mucking out stalls is harder than managing social calendars. That children from all backgrounds can share the same love for horses. And that sometimes the person who needs the most help finding their humanity might be the one pretending they have it all figured out. She announced the scholarship program, her voice growing stronger as she outlined plans to make Meadowbrook more inclusive while maintaining its standards of excellence, real standards, not artificial social barriers. Afterward, she joined us at our table, sitting next to Matthew without a single comment about his left-handed fork use. You know, she said quietly, James would be proud of what you've done here. What we've done, I corrected. Change only works if everyone participates. Matthew, finishing his dessert with both hands just because he could, looked up at his grandmother. Does this mean you're not mad at us anymore? Evelyn's carefully maintained composure cracked slightly. No, darling. I'm not mad. I'm grateful. Sometimes we need to eat humble pie to remember our humanity. Or eat from a trough, he asked innocently. She flinched but nodded. Yes, sometimes we need to experience what we put others through to understand why it was wrong. As we left that night, I overheard one of the older members comment, Evelyn Blackwood voluntarily giving up power. Never thought I'd see the day. I smiled, watching her help Matthew adjust his riding helmet for an evening ride. Sometimes, I murmured, the best way to gain power is to stop desperately clinging to it. The setting sun cast long shadows across Meadowbrook's grounds, but for once, they were shadows of progress, not privilege.